Welcome to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And this is the show that talks about boundaries, work-life balance, and living a life where you have control. This is for highly driven professionals who want to develop a more balanced professional and personal life and live out their true values. Those who are ready to grab the reins and change the status quo. The professional who's ready to have a life again and who's ready to take a stand, living in a way that you feel respected, valued, and fulfilled each and every day. We talk about topics like setting boundaries, taking risks, life management, and all the tips, techniques, and strategies to help you master your Monday, one day at a time. Hey, Michelle O'Neill here. It's that time. Time once again for our awesome ringside conversation. And I'm so excited to chat about one of my pet peeves that I see happening so often. I'm talking about it today, right here in episode 5. You have the right to ask questions when it comes to your health. And so there are actually things that we can do on the front end when it's time for us to see our doctor or other medical professionals that a lot of times we forget. And it's our right to do these things. I see this happen so often. And it really came to mind when, I asked my mother things about her visits to her doctors, and I find out she's not asking the right questions, not telling them the right things. And so I thought this is something that I'd like to visit because I noticed that sometimes it even happens to me or with me. And there are things that we can do to make sure that we get the best care we can. Now, I understand that a lot of times for the older generations, one of the reasons that this would happen is because we view doctors as professionals, which they are, but we feel that we don't have a right to ask questions. We don't have a right to question them because they're the expert. But that's not quite true. We do have the right to ask those questions and question them because they are the expert. And one of the reasons that this has happened is there is actually a mistrust of the health system for multiple reasons. But a lot of times it's because we haven't asked questions also. Now, we know that some of those reasons are behind the African American history and the things that we know that has happened to different ethnic groups along the way because we were used as experimentation and other reasons because of that. The same thing with women history. We know that a lot of times that we were pushed to the side, not thinking of as important, and a lot of our ailments or things that we felt, we've oftentimes been thought of as little or no consequence. And then there's a problem with the system history, things not being put in the system, not good records. All these things together really come together to make us mistrust a lot of times our health professionals and our health system. So the reason behind that is a lot of times we don't want history to repeat itself. We don't want to be taken advantage of. We want to feel like someone cares about what happens to us and we want to feel heard. So we have to learn from those past mistakes, and that helps us make it easier to identify flaws in the future. So we have to look at those past mistakes with ourselves and those past mistakes that we've come across with our dealing with the medical system, with our dealing with our doctors, with us dealing with pharmacists, all aspects of it, x-rays, every aspect of our medical care. We have to really take under scrutiny and make those decisions, but they must be informed decisions. And so the best way to do that is to ask questions. So, number one is we want to do our research, but you want to make sure that you do your research from reliable sources. I remember talking to my doctor not too long ago, and we were just chatting about how people come into the office now, and he says, "Oh my gosh, so many people come in here and they've Googled everything, and they're not at looking at the right questions, and they're more concerned about things that don't even concern them, as far as, no, that's not what you're dealing with." So make sure you're dealing with a reliable source when you're going out there and looking up your information. And also check the date on that information. Is that a more recent date? When's the last time that's been talked about? Is it web doctor or a reliable source, and not necessarily someone's opinion? But it's okay to ask, doctor, this is what I read, and I'm not sure if this applies to me. In fact, I just did just recently, when it came to the COVID shot. Um, I'm one of the high risk, and so I asked my doctor in reference to my problem, and it's a immune deficiency. But I asked the doctor, okay, these are my past issues, and is this something for me to be concerned about? This is what I heard on TV. I'm not sure if this applies to me. And my doctor sat there and took the time. She actually took the time and addressed each one of those questions that I had, and gave me a long explanation so I understood why. So I would implore any doctor listening to this, please take the time with your patient and say it in a way that they understand it, and also give them an explanation of why. We always want to know why, not just the facts, man, ma'am, in this case. So again, make sure you have a reliable source. So what do we need to do? I just want to get to the quick of this. What is it that we need to do as the patient, as the person going in the office? Well, the first thing, as I said, is ask questions. Are you afraid to ask those questions? Why? You're paying for that service. That's your money, whether it's through your health care, that you're paying for monthly, or whatever. You are paying for that service. And I hate to say this, sorry, doctors, and I am not a doctor. Let me say that right up front. But sorry, doctors, title isn't everything. Check into the reviews of that doctor, especially if it's a new doctor. Ask people who go to that doctor what their experience is with that doctor, and find out what that doctor's specialty is, because all doctors have a specialty. And that means they study that area more than any other area. So make sure you're talking to the right doctor about the right thing. Like, I wouldn't go to a foot doctor to ask them something about stomach problems. So you get what I'm saying. So make sure you understand your doctor's area of expertise. Now, it's different if it's a general practitioner, but also understand that they may not have the expertise in one particular area. And that's why a lot of times, like my doctors, they will refer me out to an expert in that area. And they're not afraid to say, hey, that's not my area of expertise. I'd love to you to see someone that could speak to this even better. And I love a doctor that does that. And then the other thing is, challenge your medication. Number one, make sure your doctor knows all, and I mean absolutely all, the medication that you're taking. And I mean not just medication from another doctor, but your over the counter medication, and also any vitamins or supplements that you're taking, because all these things can have an effect on some medication that you're taking. Like, there's a medication I take. Do you know that I can't eat grapefruit? Who would have thought that grapefruit would affect the absorption of a particular medicine? So make sure your doctor understands everything you're taking so they can make an informed decision. But if you really have a question, go to the expert. When you pick up your medicine at the pharmacist, ask them the question. They, more than a doctor, because that is their area of expertise, understand the interaction of medication to other medications. That's what they learned. That's what they went to school for. So don't be afraid to check with your pharmacist and understand all your medication interactions. And then most doctors, they give you a handout on that medication. And if they ask you, do you want this handout or you want to know more about your medication? Absolutely say yes. Why? Because a lot of times there are side effects that you have no clue about. And you want to know these things. So if something's a little quite off, why don't, and you've just taken a new medicine, look at that sheet and say, is this one of the side effects? Oh, so that's why I'm feeling this way. Or, oh, I better talk to my doctor about that. But make sure you get every piece of paperwork that comes with your medication and don't be afraid to read it. In fact, I encourage you. Okay. You also have a right, number three, to get a second opinion. And what I say is check out your source. It's okay to ask a second opinion, especially if it doesn't sit right with you. But here's the key. Don't keep searching until you find someone to say what you want to hear. The thing is to get a second opinion or get an opinion from multiple doctors, because sometimes one doctor may know something that another doctor haven't read up on yet or know more about. Or if it's something specific that you want to know about, say a treatment or something, ask your doctor, hey, I've heard about this new treatment. Is this something that may work for me? Is this something I can look more into? And they'll tell you a lot of times, yeah, why don't we send you to a specialist that deals with that so you can find out more about it? Or no, based on because you also have this, and this. They can't do that type of treatment on you because it would affect your heart or it would affect this. But those are things that we're not asking and are great. Just always seek the truth. So, talking about that, not necessarily, in fact, no, let's go to the fourth one is things that we can do. So, I want to say, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I'll tell you the story in this one. So, what am I saying? A lot of times we go to the doctor, and I would encourage you before you go to the doctor and get in that office to write you a little list about the things that you want to talk to your doctor about, because it never fails. When you get there and you sit in that doctor's office, you can't remember a single question. It's kind of like when you go to the doctors and you've been hurting for the last week, and the day you're sitting there and they say, what is your pain level? And you say, my pain level is a 2. Sorry. And then it's hard for them to really figure out what's going on. But it's the same thing about telling the truth. A lot of times we go into the doctor's office and we're only focused on the one thing that's happening right now, or that's the most prevalent or hurting the most. And we're not telling them all the things. But sometimes those other little things are all part of their diagnosis. And if they knew those other things were happening at the same time that big thing is happening, they could better make a good informed decision. So tell your doctor everything that's going on with you as well. The medicine is so important, but also all your symptoms, all the things you're feeling. And some things may be nothing. Oh, I'm having a headache every day too about this time. Whatever it is, make sure you tell them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So tell them even the little things that you're feeling that a lot of times it's kind of hard to get across. But those little feelings that you're having, like there's a slight pain on the right side, think about when you have that pain and write it down. Where is it happening? Because I'm going to tell you, the doctor's going to ask you, well, where is that pain? Where does it hurt? Is it a sharp pain or is it a dull pain? Is it an inside pain or is it just on the outside? Because that lets them know, is it the muscle? Is it something that's happening in the nervous system? And again, I'm not a doctor, but these are things that they need to do to know so they can make the best decision for you. And so that brings me back to my story I love to tell. One of the times I went to a doctor and I was having this issue with cholesterol. Okay. I'm going to get a little personal here. So forgive me. And I said, listen, I'm not overweight or anything. So can I just tweak my diet and change it even more? And because I eat healthy. And he says, okay. He says, you're going to need to go on this medication. And I'm like, no, no, no. Just give me some time. He says, okay, I'll give you 6 months. He says, you have 6 months to bring this down, or we're putting you on this medication. Well, I hate medication. And medication, me taking cholesterol medicine, perish the thought. Oh my goodness. So I was like, no, okay, give me those 6 months. 6 months. I ate good. I exercised. I did everything the doctor said that I could do to bring down my cholesterol. Grapefruit, oatmeal, whatever it was, I did it. 6 months, actually, it was a little higher. And he says, you got to go on the medication. I was like, I don't want to go on the medication. I don't want to. And you know what the doctor said? He looked at me and he says, fine, die then. Just die. Die. I was so shocked. How could a doctor speak to me like that? Tell me to just die? How unfeeling. But he had read me enough and he knew me and had seen me enough that he knew that that was the exact shock treatment that I needed to make the best decision for myself. What he was saying is, honey child, you have done everything that you can do. You and I have worked together to try everything we could to keep you off this medicine. But this is hereditary. There is nothing more we can do but put you on this medicine, or sometime down the road you're either going to have a stroke or a heart problem or something, and you're going to die. So this is the best way that we can make sure you have a better life. Whew. And so I'm on the medication. But it took that shock treatment, that shock tactic, I guess, to make sure that I did the right thing. So we have to tell the truth and realize that we're responsible to notify our doctors of anything that could help them make the best decision. Okay. Also, the whole truth, we're also responsible to notify our doctor of any changes in our medication or of our medication or anything else. Anything that's changed with our health and anything that's changed with our medication. That's our responsibility because unless they have that information, they're making a well, not the best decision because we haven't provided all the information to them. And then I'm going to tell you this one now with the cell phones and everything. This is a biggie for me because I can never remember all my medication. And I hate when they sit there and they say, list all your medication. My first thought is, isn't it in your system? Can you look it up, please? But I've learned to also, here we go. I have taken a picture with my cell phone of all my medication. I just put them all in a little group together, made sure the tags were all there, and I took a picture. So there is the grams or how much how much of that medication is there, what the name of that medication, the date that it was given to me, my doctor's name, all that is right there on my picture. And then I little put that little heart of my pic of my on my phone that saves it to my favorite. So now when I go to the doctor, all I have to do is go into my pictures, hit my favorites, and just scroll a little bit. And right there is all my medication and I can show it to them or write it down, whatever's needed. But I know what medication that I am. But remember, when you update your medicine or change your medicine, that you also take a new picture of all your medication. And this is great to have for your pharmacist too. So take that picture. This is a picture that you want to have at all times. So it's in your phone for easy access. Whew, I am getting too excited here. Now, also with your cell phone, use your medical alert on your phone in case of an emergency. Now, this is only to be used then, and it doesn't really have personal pertinent information that you don't want someone to have, but it has medical information that if something happens to you, you fall out at work or whatever, that you have someone could grab your phone, excuse me, and look at your phone and see that you're diabetic or that you have high blood pressure or whatever it is, but that they can see that information and it's right there on your phone for the medical person that needs it. So use your medical alert because it's a great place to put that information for easy access. All right. So, I have to take a big breath. I got so excited. I hit the mic and everything. But your right of choice is the last thing I want to talk about. You have that right of choice, who your doctor is. You pay for your insurance if you pay for your insurance. So you have a right of choice based on the stipulations or the limits of your health insurance or whatever health care that you have. You still have that right to say, I'm not comfortable with this doctor. Is there another one under my plan that I can get? Even with a military doctor, you have what do they call a team, a medical team. And on that medical team is more than one doctor or PA. You have that right to say, I'm not comfortable with this doctor. Can I get another? My husband and I are on the same medical team, but he likes a male doctor and I like a female doctor. It's just a matter of choice and comfort. And you must, let me say that again, you must feel comfortable so you can trust your doctor. It is so important that we have that sense of comfort with that doctor. We must feel that we can trust them. We must feel that they're going to tell us the truth, and we must feel that they care. So if you go in there to a doctor and that doctor doesn't really listen to you, he doesn't look at you, he's looking at his phone, he may write one or two notes and you feel like he's not really taking care of you the way you feel that you want to be taken care of, then you have that right, the absolute right to change your doctor, based on your health plan. So know that you don't have to stay with a doctor, particularly depending on your health plan, that you're not comfortable with, because it is so poor, especially when this doctor is called to do a procedure on you. Check that doctor out and make sure it's someone that you're comfortable with. I actually asked my doctor when he operated on my wrist, on my hand, because I had carpal tunnel, how many of these have you done? And in what period of time? He looked at me, but he answered too. I had that right to ask. I want to make sure that I'm not one in 100, that he's done this multiple times. And I wanted to know how many times he does that a week. He was a hand doctor. So I want to know, do you do these often? Because I didn't want to hear, oh, not that I would hear on the operating table, but the last thing you want to know is they said, oops, especially when they're messing around with your nerves and stuff and your muscles. So make sure you feel comfortable with your doctor and their knowledge level and their skill level. And not only the doctor, but their team, their nurses, their anesthesiologists, their front desk. How do those people treat you? All those go into your decisions of where to go for your health care. So make sure that you feel comfortable when you working through walk into that front office, that they treat you right, that you feel like they care. Hey, that they call you by your first name or your whole name. Hey, Ms. O'Neill, good to see you again, or whatever. The doctor will be with you in a minute. Just common courtesies. All this is important when it comes to our health care. So, whew, I have gone for a while, but I am so glad that you were able to hang out with me today for our ringside chat. I can't even talk. I've talked too long. You are amazing. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Now, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit subscribe. And there is one other thing I want you to do after listening to this episode. And I'm going to take that back. Hit subscribe, review, all those things. But after listening to this episode, I want you to visit masteringyourmonday.com/pathway, because I have so many little goodies there for you, or other ways that you can connect with me. Okay. It's time for me to close and time for us to say goodbye. So until next time, take care. And remember, you are cherished, respected, and valued. Take care. Bye-bye. I want to thank you for listening to the Mastering Your Monday podcast. I hope you learned at least one tip or technique you can walk away with and implement today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show, and let us know how much you enjoyed it and what you learned from this episode. We honor your time and your commitment to Mastering Your Monday podcast. And as always, we want to remind you, you are cherished, respected, valued, and in control. See you on the next episode.